LionMaster steam engines from Lionel are an awesome answer for those that want big steam power on smaller layouts. There's a lot of models offered, lots of variations to them that have been released through the years, and it can all get a little confusing. So today, I'm going to be your guide through every steam locomotive they've ever offered in a span of over 20 years, so there's a lot of ground to cover. Strap in for the mega guide to the LionMaster lineup. I'm making this as a resource to help folks looking for more information on these engines. So to help you navigate things, I've made use of the chapters function of YouTube so you can skip around the segments about each engine we'll cover today. Plus, I've made individual reviews about each of these, so check out this playlist on screen and in the description if you'd like a more in-depth look at a specific example you see here. There are 6 designs of steam locomotives we're going to cover here. The Big Boy, Challenger, Cab Forward, Class A, T1 Duplex, and Hudson all have had various releases in the 2000s. But as a blanket statement that'll be good for all of these, here's what you can expect from every single steam engine bearing the LionMaster name. All of these can handle curves as tight as 031, thanks to their slightly scaled down size and wizardry of their wheels. 5 of the 6 designs that we're going to look at are articulated steam engines, and they have lots of rotating parts underneath to help them traverse those kinds of turns. But don't let their smaller size fool you. These are big engines with details you'll usually find on scale models. Separately applied details, accurate builder's plates, proper lighting and classification boards, and proportions that are faithful to their full-scale counterparts. Whether they're using TMCC, Legacy Control, or Lion Chief 2.0 for controls, these are all wonderful examples that are versatile enough to complement any size of layout. Let's start from the beginning when LionMaster made its debut with these 4664 Challengers from 2003. The first versions came with the original Trainmaster Command Control, or TMCC, but later releases in 2009 and 2015 would bring Legacy Control to these. They've been offered in all sorts of road names and color schemes through their releases, but they mostly can be characterized by the control system they've been granted. Like all older TMCC engines, these original runs of Challengers have a line or two of tower comm featuring road number specific dialogue, and a garbled mess of crew talk. The earlier Legacy run of Challengers in 2009 also have road number specific dialogue, but there's much more variety to what they can say. These also have the older style TMCC wireless tether, but later in 2015, Lionel released these again with Legacy. But they got the newer style tether that reduces the gap between the cab and the tender. They even added whistle steam to the 2015 run, although at that point, Legacy had gone to a generic dialogue instead. If I could add whistle steam to the 2009 version, that'd be the clear winner here, although I do still love the booming sound of the original 2003 Challengers. They all run great, and there's never really been any glaring problems along the lineup. Older TMCC engines can sometimes have a bit of a shudder when starting out at slow speeds, and the sound quality can get a little distorted at full volume on the 2009 Legacy version, but that's really about it. These are solid choices with lots of variety available for road names, so there's plenty of good options out there. Next on our list is the T1 Duplex. First offered in Volume 2 of the 2003 Lionel catalog, these are really stunning examples of this shark-nosed streamlined steam engine design. They really capture the look nicely, right up until you get to the gap between the tender and the cab. Other engines hide this gap better because the top of the cab overhangs and the tender usually fits in underneath. But because of the T1 Duplex's design that cuts straight down the middle, it's hard to hide that. It's an older style wireless tether in these original versions, so if you're looking to find one with less of a gap, there is a Legacy version they made in 2011 with a newer style wireless tether that brings the two closer together. While the original version has all of your usual TMCC stuff that I mentioned on the Challenger before, it does suffer a bit more from the shudder that some of the older Odyssey controlled engines develop over time. The 2011 Legacy version vastly improves this with Odyssey 2, so you won't notice that issue at all. It also boasts a host of features that make it the best equipped version of the T1 Duplex ever to grace 3 rails, at least so far. In a time when fully featured engines are typically reserved for the scale behemoths, this LionMaster T1 Duplex has legacy control, road number specific crew dialogue, and whistle steam. I'm kinda happy that the best version of this engine is made for my rails, because I've got a tighter layout. I know they'll make a scale version in Visionline or something like that later, but for now, this one is king. Besides the shudder on older versions, there's not much to look out for. I had a host of issues with my legacy version that I covered in another video, but from what I've seen, these aren't hereditary issues for the engine, just a product of the bumpy ride that mine had. The legacy version has a separate filling spot for the whistle steam that can be easy to lose, so if you're finding one secondhand, just make sure that this little circular cover is present. Moving right along, we have the Norfolk & Western Class A, originally offered in 2004 with TMCC, and then later released in 2016 with Legacy Control. They're fine examples of this mountain taming icon. I did think it was slightly funny that the original release chose 1, 2, 3, 4 as the number, but the road number specific dialogue handles this nicely as 1234. These things look awesome and are yet another example of how to proportion things right for semi-scale. However, the slightly smaller space inside the boiler shell meant that Lionel had to use a more simple speed control system from their American Flyer line. There are, as a result, fewer speed steps with these, even fewer than what Odyssey would normally afford you. However, it still does a good job of holding consistent speeds for cruising, but it is something to note for picky operators. Also, early examples like this one don't have the greatest smoke output, but that can be fixed by replacing the batting inside the smoke unit. Aside from the numbers, the TMCC version has more of an orange color painted around the cab windows, where the Legacy version is more of a true red. Bonus points for the Legacy version being offered with whistle steam and the 1218 number, which is of course the famous version that remains as the sole example of the Class A today. There were a few others they made, including some neat what-if renditions as well. I really like the Santa Fe version. Kinda reminds me of like a Y6B. Let's stay on the eastern side of the US for this next one, the Hudson. This is the only steam engine in the LionMaster lineup that isn't articulated. Honestly, I'm a little surprised they made this for LionMaster, but if you've seen the more standard semi-scale Hudson design, you can tell right off the bat that this LionMaster version does a much better job with getting the proportions and details right. To my surprise, this engine isn't that much bigger than the traditional Hudson, but again, the proportions, molded in and separately applied details make it fit in better with other scale engines in terms of aesthetics. These were originally released in 2005 with TMCC and could be found with a few different numbers and road names, but they were released again in the 2024 Volume 2 catalog with Lion Chief 2.0. So while the Hudson is one of only 2 LionMaster engines we'll cover that have skipped the legacy treatment, it's still a nice version to have. Plus, Lion Chief 2.0 has super smooth operation, allows Bluetooth control and the Lion Chief remote and command control with bass, and can still be used very nicely in conventional mode. It's just really versatile. These next engines also have been released as LionMaster Lion Chief Plus 2.0, but before I dive into those, I feel like I need to defend their honor a bit. Oftentimes, I've seen criticism for the higher price of LionMaster engines, but as far as I can tell, there seems to be more legacy tax being imposed on scale engines versus the reasonable pricing I've observed with LionMaster. Granted, Lionel engines are expensive in general, but I think this is mostly due to the idea that these are traditional size for semi-scale, and that's especially true when they're lumped in with the Lion Chief badge for the more recent releases. But they're still big engines. Let's take the 442 Atlantic steam engine out of the 2025 Volume 1 Lionel catalog as our example. That engine has legacy control, whistle steam, measures in at 18 and a half inches long, and is listed for $999. Granted, you can get them cheaper from retailers, but still, let's compare that to the supposedly inferior LionMaster Hudson. Sure, the Lion Chief Plus 2.0 doesn't get you everything Legacy has, but nearly all the sounds are the same. Operation is really close, you're really just missing whistle steam. The Hudson measures in at 22 inches long, making it bigger than the Atlantic, but will list as $799. And a Lion Chief Big Boy, which, yes, we will get to, will clock in at just over 29 inches long for $1,100. So is that a lot for a semi-scale engine? Maybe, but that's also a lot of engine that you're actually getting. Secondhand examples of LionMaster engines seem to hold their value quite well, but you can find good deals on these like I have over the years. Alright, before I circle back to the big boy, there's an engine I need to talk about before Arts Model Trains forgets that it exists. The cab forward. Big metal! This engine has honestly grown on me, and now that I own one, I actually like the design more. These were originally released in 2007 with TMCC. They wouldn't release these again until after the switch to the Lion Chief, and those were pretty recent in 2020. These earned their big metal nickname, measuring in just over 27 inches long. I feel like this is one of the better detailed LionMasters out there, probably because it's a newer design. There's figures in the cab, but the dials behind them are actually painted. There's an opening hatch on top of the cab. None of the running gear is omitted. It's even got stars in the center caps of the wheels like the real ones did. All the nice detailing along the side, the bits on the end of the smoke box, handles on the platform, opening hatches on the tender. You could easily mistake this for the scale version with the exterior details on here. The TMCC version uses the older wireless tether, but the newer LC2 also has this plug that drastically reduces the tender gap. You'll see more of that when I get to the big boy because wow, does that help tighten things up. Honestly, the cab forwards, despite being a polarizing design to some, are another solid release from the LionMaster lineup. Just be careful with the front wheels as they can derail on weird turns and transitions. My friend Ben fixed this on his with some extra weights added to the top of the front truck to keep them planted, and it seems to have done the job. I had issues with my Lion Chief tether, but that's more so because the previous owner wasn't careful when they were connecting them. One of the pins was bent, so I carefully moved it back into the proper position. Ah yes, finally we're to the big boy. These famous machines have actually been released 4 separate times under the LionMaster banner. First released with TMCC in 2004, these are modified off of the Challenger LionMaster design. Not only are the engines visually similar in real life anyways, but many of the inner workings and layout of these engines use the same parts. That can also make repairing things later on a little bit easier since there's a lot of shared stuff. The Challenger and Big Boy look fantastic together because of this, so if you're a Union Pacific fan like me, you'll love how cohesive your roster will look. In 2008, the Big Boy got legacy control, and since it's an earlier legacy design, that means there is road number specific dialogue. I really missed that feature if you couldn't tell. They did it again in 2011 alongside the fully loaded T1 Duplex I talked about earlier, so yes, that's a Big Boy with road number specific dialogue and legacy control and whistle steam for the win. Finally, the big boy returned to LionMaster in 2019 with the Lion Chief Plus 2.0 line. So while it lost some of the features, that Lion Chief tether does hold the cab nice and close to the tender. And while I detest the use of the most overused dialogue in modern Lionel history, yes, this does have Mr. Lionel at the helm.
Dispatcher, are we clear through the diamond? Over.
These do have the same whistle sound file as the Vision Line Big Boy. Obviously you can't quill it, but man, does it sound really good. So of the versions they've made, this one has, by far, the best sounding whistle of all of them when you pull the cord. And for being a single speaker system, it's actually super loud. The main thing I need to warn people with the Big Boy is the fact that yes, these are modified LionMaster Challengers, but I don't think they thought of how much the articulated function would stretch the limits of the wireless tether connections. Ironically, the Achilles heel of the wireless tether is the wires going to the tether. Both the tender side and the locomotive side of mine have frayed over time, and I had to rewire them both. Granted, this only happened to one of the 3 big boys that I've owned. It was quite the pain to get both of those rewired, so if you're looking to get one secondhand, you'll want to check for that if you can. Look between the gaps for signs of the insulation around the wires fraying off, because, again, it's just a difficult repair to make if you can avoid it. Otherwise, you'll mostly want to watch the overhang of the cab itself around corners. Trackside scenery that's close could get a little sideswiped if you're not careful. That's kind of true of all of the LionMaster engines. You want to, make sure that trackside elements aren't in the way of the cab or things like that overhanging. Whew, that was a lot. But there's a lot to love here, and there's even more I've done with these, so check out the reviews and videos we've made with these if you want to get more details. This is a lot to get into one video, but I hope you enjoyed it and hope this helped showcase the faults and fame of these epic engines. Got questions still? I want to help, so leave them down in the comments or chime in on my Instagram, The Secondhand Overland. Once again, I've made lots of individual videos about these LionMaster engines, so check out the playlist for more information. If you've made it this far, hopefully that means that you'll leave us a like. Subscribe for more. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.